What happens when a Hollywood A-lister known for speaking her mind walks onto a live daytime talk show and refuses to play it safe? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The camera opens on the familiar set, the audience already energized, a light buzz moving across the room as the hosts settle into their seats. Whoopi leans slightly forward, smiling in that calm, measured way she has, while Joy adjusts her glasses and glances at her notes. Sunny looks ready, already focused, and Alyssa sits upright, composed but alert. There's a slight shift in the room as Jennifer Lawrence walks out, smiling, waving casually, clearly relaxed, but not overly polished. The audience cheers loudly. Jennifer laughs, almost a little embarrassed by the volume of it, placing a hand on her chest. "Hi. Wow, that's really nice," she says, taking her seat. Whoopi smiles. "You've been here before, but it never gets quieter for you." Jennifer shrugs playfully. "I think they're just relieved I didn't trip on the way in this time." The audience laughs. The tone is light, easy, exactly what you'd expect. For a moment, it feels like a typical segment. Joy leans in. "So, new project, new press tour. You've been everywhere lately." Jennifer nods. "Yeah, it's been a lot, but it's fun. I like talking about the work when I actually like the work." Sunny raises an eyebrow slightly. "That sounds like there's a story behind that." Jennifer grins. "There's always a story, but I won't get myself in trouble, yet." The table chuckles, but Alyssa tilts her head just slightly, studying Jennifer's tone. Whoopi transitions smoothly. "Well, let's talk about what's been making headlines too. You've been very vocal recently, politically, socially. Not everyone in Hollywood does that." Jennifer shifts a bit in her seat, still smiling but more focused now. "Yeah, I just think if you have a platform, it's kind of weird not to use it, even if people don't agree with you." Alyssa jumps in, her tone measured but direct. "But do you ever feel like celebrities sometimes overestimate how much people want to hear their political opinions?" There's a subtle shift in the audience. A few murmurs. Jennifer looks at Alyssa, not defensive but clearly engaged. "No," Jennifer says with a small laugh. "Because people can just not listen. Like no one's forcing you." A few claps from the audience. Alyssa keeps her composure. "Sure," she replies, "but when you have millions of followers, it does influence people. Some would argue it's not always responsible." Jennifer leans forward slightly now, her tone still calm but firmer. "I think what's not responsible is staying silent just because you're worried about backlash." Sunny nods subtly. "That's a fair point." Alyssa doesn't back off. "But there's a difference between speaking out and speaking as if you're an authority on complex issues." Jennifer's smile fades just a touch, not hostile, but serious now. "I don't think I've ever claimed to be an authority. I just have opinions, like everyone else at this table." There's a quick ripple of reaction from the audience, some applause, some hum agreement. Joy jumps in, trying to keep things balanced. "We all have opinions, yes, but we're also here to debate them." Jennifer nods. "Exactly. So why is it different when I do it?" Alyssa responds almost immediately. "Because you're not elected, you're not a policymaker, and yet your voice can sway public opinion in a big way." Jennifer tilts her head, a slight edge creeping in. "So can yours. So can anyone's with a platform. That's kind of how media works now." The audience reacts again, this time louder. There's a mix of claps and a few surprised laughs at how quickly the tone has shifted. Whoopi raises a hand slightly. "All right, let's keep it." But Jennifer continues, not interrupting rudely, just clearly wanting to finish her point. "I just don't understand this idea that actors should stay in their lane." "Like what lane?" "Being a human being who cares about things." Alyssa's posture stiffens just slightly. "No one's saying you can't care. It's about how informed those opinions are." Jennifer looks directly at her now. "Do you assume I'm not informed?" There's a pause. It's brief but noticeable. Alyssa answers carefully. "I'm saying that being famous doesn't automatically make someone well-versed in policy." Jennifer nods slowly. "Good thing I never said it did." The audience reacts, this time more audibly. A few oohs ripple through the room. The tension is no longer subtle. Sunny leans in. "I think what Jennifer's saying is that people can engage, learn, and speak, regardless of their profession." Alyssa glances toward Sunny, then back at Jennifer. "And I agree with that. I just think there's a responsibility that comes with that influence." Jennifer exhales lightly, a small smile returning but with a sharper edge. "There's also a responsibility to not dismiss people just because they're in entertainment." The audience claps again, louder this time. Joy tries to soften it. I don't think anyone's dismissing you. Jennifer turns slightly toward Joy. It kind of feels like it, though. Not just here, everywhere. Like the second an actor says something serious, it's stick to acting. Whoopi watches closely now, letting it play out but clearly aware of the rising intensity. Alyssa responds, her tone still controlled but firmer now. But isn't there a difference between speaking and shaping narratives that people may take as fact? Jennifer leans back slightly, crossing her arms loosely. Not defensive, but grounded. That sounds like a bigger issue with media literacy, not with me speaking. That line lands. The audience reacts strongly, applause, a few cheers. Alyssa pauses for a second, then smiles faintly, though it doesn't fully reach her eyes. That's one way to look at it. Jennifer nods. It's the way I look at it. There's a brief silence at the table, not awkward but charged. You can feel everyone recalibrating. Whoopi finally steps in more firmly. All right, clearly this is a conversation people care about. Light laughter breaks some of the tension, but it doesn't fully reset the mood. Jennifer relaxes slightly, uncrossing her arms. I'm not trying to fight, she says, half smiling. I think people should be allowed to speak without being told their job disqualifies them. Alyssa nods, but her expression stays serious. And I think people should be open to being questioned when they do. They hold eye contact for a second. Not hostile, but definitely not casual anymore. The audience quiets, sensing the moment. Whoopi leans back, looking between them. Well, that's what we do here. A small ripple of laughter moves through the room, but the energy has changed. What started as a light interview has clearly turned into something deeper. And it's only just getting started. The energy at the table doesn't fully settle, even after Whoopi's attempt to ease things. You can feel it in the way everyone adjusts slightly in their seats, the way the audience quiets but stays alert. Jennifer takes a small sip of water, her eyes briefly dropping to the table before coming back up. Composed, but clearly still engaged. Joy leans in, trying to redirect while acknowledging the moment. This is actually interesting, because this conversation isn't new. It's been happening for years. The idea of celebrities using their voice, people either love it or hate it. Jennifer nods. Right, but it's always framed like it's some kind of intrusion. Like we just showed up one day and decided to, I don't know, invade politics. Alyssa responds quickly. But sometimes it does feel like that to people watching at home. Especially when it comes off as one-sided. Jennifer raises an eyebrow slightly. One-sided how? Alyssa gestures lightly with her hand. Like when celebrities speak very confidently on issues that are actually very nuanced, and they don't always acknowledge the other perspectives. There's a small murmur in the audience. Jennifer tilts her head, thinking for a second before responding. But that's not exclusive to celebrities, she says. That's literally everyone on the internet. Everyone on TV. Everyone in politics too, by the way. A few claps break out. Sunny nods again, clearly following Jennifer's point. Sunny adds, that's true. A lot of public discourse right now lacks nuance across the board. Alyssa doesn't disagree, but she stays focused. I'm not saying it's only celebrities. I'm saying the influence is different. When someone like you says something, it reaches millions instantly. Jennifer leans forward slightly, her tone calm but more pointed now. Okay, but what exactly is the expectation then? That I just don't say anything unless I have a degree in it. Alyssa shakes her head. No, that's not what I'm saying. Jennifer continues, not raising her voice, but clearly pressing the point. Because it kind of sounds like that. Like unless I'm a politician or a policy expert, I should just stay quiet. Joy jumps in quickly. No one's asking you to stay quiet. Jennifer turns to her briefly. But that's the implication that people hear all the time. The audience reacts again, louder this time. A mix of applause and agreement fills the studio. Whoopi watches carefully, letting the exchange breathe, but ready to step in if needed. Alyssa sits a bit straighter, her tone now slightly more assertive. I think what people want is accountability. If you're going to use your platform to influence opinions, then you should be open to being challenged on it. Jennifer nods immediately. I am open to that. This is literally me being open to it right now. That gets a noticeable reaction, some laughter, some clapping. Jennifer continues, her tone still controlled but with a hint of frustration now. But being challenged is different from being dismissed. And a lot of the time, it turns into dismissal. Sunny leans in again. Can you give an example of that? Jennifer exhales lightly. Yeah, it's like, the second you say something serious, people go, oh, you're just an actor. Not I disagree with you. Not let's talk about it. Just stay in your lane. Alyssa responds, her voice steady. But sometimes that reaction comes because people feel talked down to. That line shifts the energy again. Jennifer's expression tightens just slightly, not anger, but she's clearly registering the comment. Talked down to, she repeats. Alyssa nods. Yeah, sometimes the tone can come off as, I know better than you, even if that's not the intention. Jennifer pauses for a moment, considering that. The audience is quiet now, waiting. Jennifer says slowly, I can see how tone gets interpreted differently. But I don't think having conviction automatically means you're talking down to people. Sunny nods. That's fair. Joy adds, but perception matters too. Jennifer looks toward Joy. Of course it does. But then it becomes this impossible standard, right? If you speak strongly, you're arrogant. If you speak carefully, you're not taken seriously. A few audience members clap at that. There's a growing sense that this isn't just a back and forth. It's something people are connecting to. Alyssa leans in again, not backing away from the tension. But don't you think there's also a responsibility to understand how your words land, especially when your audience is so broad? Jennifer nods. Yeah, I do. And I try. But I also think people bring their own biases into how they hear things. The audience murmurs in agreement. Whoopi finally steps in, her tone calm but grounding. This is the tricky part of public conversation. Everybody hears things differently, and everybody brings something to the table. Jennifer glances at Whoopi, then back at Alyssa. Exactly. So why is the burden always heavier on people in entertainment? Alyssa answers without hesitation. Because of reach. Because of influence. That's just the reality. Jennifer gives a small, almost ironic smile. So it's a punishment for being visible? Alyssa shakes her head. No, it's accountability. The word hangs in the air for a moment. Jennifer leans back slightly again, crossing one leg over the other, her posture more composed but her tone still engaged. I'm fine with accountability. I just don't think it should come with this automatic assumption that I don't know what I'm talking about. Sunny interjects. I think there's a middle ground here. People can have influence and still be learning, still be evolving. Joy nods. We're all still learning. Jennifer smiles faintly at that. Exactly. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I just don't want to be told I shouldn't even ask the questions out loud. That line gets a strong reaction, applause, louder than before. Alyssa listens, her expression softening just slightly, but she still holds her position. I don't think anyone's saying you shouldn't ask questions. I think it's about how those questions and statements are presented to the public. Jennifer tilts her head. But that applies to everyone here too. Alyssa nods. It does. There's a brief pause, less tense but still charged. It feels like both sides are holding their ground, but also listening more carefully now. Whoopi looks between them, then at the audience. See, this is why these conversations matter. Because it's not simple. The audience claps lightly. Jennifer lets out a small breath, her shoulders relaxing just a bit. I agree with that. It's not simple. I just think sometimes people want it to be simple so they can dismiss it. Alyssa responds, quieter now but still firm. Or so they can make sense of it. Jennifer nods slowly. Yeah, that too. For a moment, it feels like things might settle. But there's still an undercurrent that hasn't fully resolved. The kind that doesn't disappear in one exchange. Joy glances at her notes, then back up. We're going to take a quick break, but clearly, we have more to talk about. The audience laughs lightly, but the tension is still there, just beneath the surface. As the cameras begin to pull back and the music cues softly, Jennifer and Alyssa exchange a brief look. Not hostile, not friendly, just aware. And it's clear when they come back, this conversation isn't over. When the show comes back from break, the energy feels different, quieter, but heavier. The audience settles in quickly, like they know something more is coming. The hosts sit a little straighter. Jennifer adjusts slightly in her chair, brushing her hair back behind her ear, while Alyssa glances briefly toward Whoopi, then back at the table. Whoopi gives a small smile to the camera. Welcome back. We're still here with Jennifer Lawrence, and we're having a conversation. The audience laughs lightly, but it's not the same easy laughter from earlier. It's more knowing now. Jennifer smiles too, but there's a focus in her eyes. Yeah, we are. Joy jumps in, trying to ease the transition. And it's a good conversation. A real one. Sunny nods. It is. But I think we should take it a step further, because this isn't just about celebrities, it's about trust. who people trust to speak on issues. That shifts the tone again, a little sharper. Alyssa picks up on it immediately. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's about credibility. Jennifer looks at her, attentive. Okay, so what defines credibility to you? Alyssa answers without hesitation. Experience. Expertise. Being directly involved in the issue you're talking about. Jennifer nods slowly. So by that logic, most people shouldn't speak on anything outside their profession. Alyssa shakes her head slightly. No, that's not what I'm saying. People can speak, but there's a difference between sharing an opinion and shaping a narrative. Jennifer leans in a bit. But narratives are shaped by everyone. Media, politicians, commentators, even this show. The audience reacts with a soft ripple of agreement. Sunny adds, that's true. This table shapes narratives every day. Alyssa doesn't disagree, but she stays focused. And we get challenged for it every day too. Jennifer nods. Right. And so do I. There's a brief pause, and then Jennifer continues, her tone more personal now. I think what bothers me is that there's this assumption that because I'm an actor, I'm somehow less capable of understanding the world around me. The audience quiets again. This feels more direct. Joy leans in gently. Do you feel like that's what's happening here? Jennifer hesitates for a second, not unsure, but choosing her words carefully. I feel like it's part of the conversation, she says. Not just here, but generally. It's like there's this built-in skepticism. Alyssa responds, her tone slightly softer now. I think the skepticism comes from how powerful celebrity voices have become. It's not personal. Jennifer gives a small nod. I get that. I really do. But it becomes personal when it turns into, you shouldn't speak at all. Alyssa leans forward. But I haven't said that. Jennifer meets her gaze. No, but you've questioned whether I should. That lands. The audience reacts with a low, ooh, not loud, but noticeable. Alyssa takes a breath, staying composed. I've questioned how it's done, not whether you should have a voice. Jennifer tilts her head slightly. But when you keep bringing it back to expertise, it starts to sound like permission. Sunny interjects, sensing the tightening tension. I think what Jennifer's getting at is that when we tie speech to credentials too strictly, it can feel exclusionary. Alyssa nods, but she doesn't fully concede. And I think if we don't tie it to anything, it can become irresponsible. The two perspectives sit there, almost perfectly balanced, but still in conflict. Whoopi watches closely, then speaks calmly. This is the line we all walk. Freedom to speak, and responsibility for what we say. Jennifer nods. I agree with that. I just don't think responsibility should mean silence until you're perfect. A few audience members clap at that. Alyssa responds quickly. No one's asking for perfection. Jennifer raises her eyebrows slightly. Then what are you asking for? Alyssa pauses for a fraction of a second. Awareness. Humility. Acknowledging when you might not have the full picture. Jennifer lets out a small breath. I do that. All the time. Alyssa looks at her. Do you think that always comes across in how you speak publicly? That question shifts things again. It's more pointed, more direct than before. Jennifer's expression tightens just a bit. Not defensive, but more serious. I think sometimes people hear what they expect to hear, she says. The audience murmurs. Jennifer continues, her tone steady. If someone already thinks celebrities are out of touch, they're going to hear arrogance no matter how carefully you speak. Alyssa responds, just as steady. And if someone is influenced by you, they might take what you say as fact, even if you don't intend it that way. Jennifer leans forward again, this time a little more firmly. Then that's where critical thinking comes in. That's not something I can control for every person watching. Joy nods slowly. That's true. You can't control interpretation. Sunny adds, but you can influence it. Jennifer glances at Sunny. Sure, but influence isn't the same as control. The audience claps lightly at that distinction. There's a brief pause, and then Alyssa speaks again, this time with a slightly different tone. Less confrontational, more probing. Can I ask you something honestly? She says. Jennifer nods. Yeah. Alyssa leans in. Do you ever worry that speaking out could unintentionally mislead people? Jennifer doesn't answer immediately. She takes a second, thinking. Yeah, she says finally. I think anyone who speaks publicly should worry about that. But I worry more about saying nothing when something matters. The audience reacts, this time with louder applause. Jennifer continues, her voice calm, but more emotional now. Because silence can be misleading too. It can look like you don't care, or that you agree with something you don't. Alyssa listens, her expression more neutral now, less guarded. I understand that, Alyssa says. I really do. I just think there's a balance that's hard to find. Jennifer nods. I agree. It is hard. For a moment, it feels like the tension might finally ease, but there's still something unresolved. Joy looks between them. It sounds like you actually agree on more than you think. Jennifer gives a small smile. Maybe. Alyssa nods slightly. Maybe. Whoopi leans forward, her tone calm but firm. That's usually how it goes. The audience laughs lightly, breaking some of the intensity. But then Jennifer adds, almost casually, but it lands with weight. I just don't like feeling like I need permission to care out loud. The room quiets again. Alyssa looks at her, holding that statement for a moment before responding. And I don't think you need permission, she says. I just think people are going to question how you do it, and that's part of the deal. Jennifer nods slowly. Yeah, I get that. There's a pause. Not tense this time, just reflective. Whoopi glances toward the camera, then back at the table. All right, we're going to wrap this up in a bit, but clearly, this isn't a one-answer conversation. The audience claps, softer but steady. Jennifer leans back slightly, her posture more relaxed now, but her expression still thoughtful. Alyssa sits back too, her shoulders easing just a bit. The conversation hasn't exploded, but it hasn't fully resolved either. It's that rare kind of live TV moment where both sides stand their ground and neither fully backs down. And as the segment starts to wind toward its final moments, you can feel that what's been said here is going to carry beyond the table. The final stretch of the segment carries a different kind of energy, less sharp, but heavier in a way that lingers. You can tell everyone at the table knows this moment is going to stick, not just for the audience in the room, but for everyone watching at home. Whoopi shifts slightly in her chair, looking from Jennifer to Alyssa and then out toward the audience. All right, before we close, I think it's fair to say this conversation hit something real. The audience claps, not loud but steady. It's the kind of reaction that comes from people feeling involved rather than entertained. Jennifer nods, her tone calm again. Yeah, I mean, I didn't come here to argue, but I'm not mad that we talked about it. There's a small ripple of laughter. Alyssa gives a slight smile. Same. I think these conversations matter, even when they're uncomfortable. Joy leans in. Especially when they're uncomfortable. Sunny nods. That's when you actually learn something. There's a brief pause, and then Whoopi looks at Jennifer. Let me ask you this. After everything we just talked about, does it change how you approach speaking out? Jennifer takes a second before answering. She exhales lightly, her expression thoughtful. No, not really, she says honestly. But it does remind me that people are listening in very different ways. And maybe I need to be clearer sometimes about what I know, what I don't know, and what I'm still figuring out. The audience responds with a warm round of applause. Alyssa nods, acknowledging that. And I think that's all anyone can really ask for. Jennifer glances at her, and this time there's a small, genuine smile. That's fair. It's not a full agreement, but it's something closer to mutual understanding. Joy looks between them. Look at that, we made progress. The audience laughs again, easing the atmosphere just a bit more. Whoopi adds, that's what happens when people actually listen to each other. There's a quiet beat after that. One of those moments where nothing needs to be said immediately. Then Whoopi turns slightly toward the camera. Jennifer, thank you for being here, and for being willing to have the conversation. Jennifer nods. Thanks for having me, and for not cutting to commercial too early. That gets a bigger laugh from both the audience and the hosts. As the segment wraps, the music starts to come in softly. The cameras widen out, catching the table from a distance as the hosts begin their usual end-of-segment movements, shuffling notes, exchanging quick comments off mic. But even as the show transitions, you can see that Jennifer and Alyssa exchange a few more words quietly. Nothing dramatic, just a brief, low conversation. Jennifer gestures lightly with her hand. Alyssa nods once or twice. It's calm, respectful, the kind of follow-up that doesn't make it to air, but matters just as much. The audience begins to applaud more fully now as the segment officially ends. And just like that, the live moment is over, but the impact is only starting. Within minutes of the broadcast, clips begin circulating online. Short segments, Jennifer saying, "Why is it different when I do it?" Alyssa responding with, "Because of reach. Because of influence." The exchange about permission versus accountability. Social media lights up. Some viewers side strongly with Jennifer, praising her for standing her ground, and calling out what they see as a double standard. Comments flood in saying things like, "She said exactly what needed to be said," and "Why are celebrities told to stay quiet but politicians aren't questioned the same way?" Others back Alyssa, arguing that her point about responsibility and influence is valid. Alyssa wasn't attacking her. One post reads, "She was asking real questions about accountability." Clips of the audience reacting, those moments, the bursts of applause, get replayed over and over, analyzed from different angles. People debate not just what was said, but how it was said. Tone, body language, timing. Everything becomes part of the conversation. Backstage, sources later say the mood wasn't tense, just reflective. Jennifer reportedly stuck around for a bit, chatting with some of the producers, even joking about how quickly things escalated. Alyssa, too, is said to have remained composed, speaking with the team and acknowledging that the discussion was intense but important. No one stormed off. No one refused to talk. But everyone knew it was a moment. Later that day, entertainment outlets start picking it up. Headlines focus on the clash, but the clips tell a more layered story, one where neither side fully backed down and neither side fully lost control. Viewers who watched the full segment notice something different than those who only saw the clips. They point out that while the tension was real, so was the willingness to engage. That it wasn't just a fight, it was a conversation that got uncomfortable and stayed there. And that's what keeps it trending. By the evening, hashtags related to the moment begin circulating. People are asking bigger questions now about who gets to speak, who gets to be heard, and how influence works in a world where everyone has a platform. Back on the show the next day, the hosts briefly reference the moment. Not in a defensive way, just acknowledging the response. Whoopi sums it up simply. People had opinions. That's what happens when you talk about real things. And that line ends up getting shared almost as much as the original exchange. As for Jennifer, she doesn't immediately post anything about it. No clarification, no backtracking. Just silence for a little while. Alyssa, on the other hand, addresses it briefly in a follow-up interview, saying, "It was a respectful disagreement." And those are conversations worth having. And that becomes part of the narrative too. In the end, what started as a standard talk show interview turned into something more. A moment that blurred the line between entertainment and real debate. Not explosive. Not chaotic. Just real. And now it shifts to you. What did you think about this moment? Was Jennifer right to push back? Or did Alyssa make the stronger point about responsibility and influence? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.